Welcome back to GMG class. Starting from today until coronavirus goes away, I'm going to conduct my GMG class online. I feel quite shy and strange because I usually make my lecture in front of thousands of people. But now today, I'm sitting in front of this camera talking about my story. Hopefully, the quality of the video will be able to hold you, stay with me until the end of this video. Today, I have chosen my topic as Please Do Not Give Up. I'm going to share some of my stories from very challenging times I had encountered before, so that hopefully the people who are having difficult times, who are going through a lot of challenges, will have a better idea of how to deal with this stress and pressures you are having at the moment. I'm going to start with one story coming from China. In Korean language, we call it 세옹지마. There was one old gentleman living next to Great Wall in China long time ago. His name was Seong, and this gentleman had some horses he was breeding up, and one day he lost one of the horses. One of the horses ran away to the neighbor country and didn't come back. So many of his neighbors were coming to his house and said, "We are sorry to hear your loss. I'm sure you are very unhappy, how unlucky," and so on. And this gentleman didn't seem to really get upset, and he was saying that, who knows, maybe this loss will come back as a luck. And that came true because the other day, the horse came back with another horse. And neighbors were very happy for him, saying that you are very lucky. You got another horse free of charge. Congratulations. It is good luck for you. And this gentleman once again was happy, but he was not too excited because he was saying that, yes, this is luck, but who knows, maybe this luck will bring another unfortunate at the end. So we should not get too excited. And after a few months, there was one accident. This Seong had only one son in his family. And this son was riding a horse, the new horse coming from the neighbor. And unfortunately, he fell down and broke his leg. And it was quite serious. So he was not able to move and so on. And neighbors were also saying, sorry to hear about the bad accident, how unlucky. Yeah, people talked. But this old gentleman, Seong, was not really emotional. He was saying that, who knows, maybe this accident will bring us some luck eventually. And after a few months, there was a big war between the country Seong was living in and another neighbor country, a huge war. So most of the young people had to join the army, and a lot of young people died during the war. But this Seong's son didn't go to the war because his leg was broken, right? So he was able to survive, and eventually the fact that he broke his leg was turned out as a good luck. This story is telling us that throughout our life there will be lots of happenings, some positive, and some of the accidents and incidents will be unfortunate and less lucky. But what's important is we should not get too excited or too frustrated when we have good things happening to our life and bad things happening to our life. Because eventually all of the incidents and happenings in our life will be related to each other, and sometimes they will turn out as fortunate cases, and the other times they will turn out as unlucky accidents. So stay stable, calm, do not overreact or over emotional. Just go on, and then life will treat you well. Now I want to share my own 세옹지마. I had very interesting stories I want to share with you during my hotelier career for last 20 years. The first story I want to share with you happened back in 1997. I was on my third year of my university. My life was quite simple, and I was ready to graduate from the university and get a good job and make a good salary and find a nice lady and get married and so on. Back in that time in Korea, the economic situation was really good, And once you graduate from good university like mine, it was almost guaranteed that you will get a good job with the big companies like Samsung, LG, Kia, and so on. And your life will be stable and there will be smooth progress. Unfortunately, in October 1997, Korea declared bankruptcy. There was a huge global economic crisis starting from Southeast Asia, Thailand and Indonesia, and the impact was reaching out to Korea, and Korea economy was basically collapsed. The whole country went bankrupt. If I remember correctly, over 20,000 Korean companies were declaring bankruptcy. The situation was really bad, and it was very obvious that the recruitment market was suddenly frozen. I was looking at my senior, so the fourth years, they were supposed to get a job easily with well-known companies, big companies, but none of them were able to get a job with Samsung or Kia because the situation was really terrible. And I was forced to look outside Korea for job opportunities. That's how I was getting interested in working abroad. And finally, I was able to get a job in the United States, a small city called Kansas City. My first job was a management trainee in Hyatt Regency Crown Center in Kansas City, United States. I spent 1 year there, and then I was having a lot of fun. I liked my new lifestyle abroad, outside Korea, as a young person. It was a great experience and personal growth. So I extended my time abroad and looked for another opportunity. And I registered myself for hotel school in London, United Kingdom. That was called London Hotel School. The school offers a 2-year program, first year in the classroom and second year as an intern. So I did another internship. And I was lucky enough to be hired as a contract staff after finishing my student training. And somehow I managed to stay in the UK for 9 years. During that time, I was working for one of the most famous hotels in London called the Ritz London. I was starting as a waiter, night auditor, receptionist, and eventually I became the reservation manager and acting revenue manager. And of course, during that time, I met this beautiful lady who became my wife eventually. Yeah, so looking back at that times, if I didn't have that economic crisis back in 1997, all of the special experience I had in the United States or United Kingdom, the luck to meet my wife, working experience in one of the best hotels in the world, wouldn't have happened, correct? So, this unfortunate event of forcing the whole country to go bankrupt was eventually turned out as a good luck for me. And that was very special experience, I still remember. I have another one back in 2008. So I spent almost 8-9 years in the UK. And in 2008, 15th of September, one of the biggest companies, financial companies called Lehman Brothers, filed for bankruptcy protection. And this filing still remains as the biggest bankruptcy filing in the US history. So this economic crisis was even bigger than 1998. And I was very unlucky because I was working for the Ritz London for almost 6 years. And after 6 years, I decided to explore some other companies. And I just moved from the Ritz London to Millennium Hotel. And this Lehman Brothers bankruptcy was happening right after I moved to Millennium Hotel. So in the end, what happened was after a few months, in the beginning of 2009, I was laid off. I lost my job. I was not still the permanent resident in UK yet, which means losing my job is same as losing my stay permit in UK and London. I was married to my wife and I was just able to stay with a spouse visa. And this terrible incident experience was forcing me to look into the possibility to work in my own country, Korea. I never imagined to go back to Korea before I had this Lehman Brothers issue and a layoff from Millennium Hotel. But once I became unemployed, I was looking for all the possible opportunities, and it came out that maybe I have a better chance to get a job in Korea. And that was true. I was able to get a job with Sofitel in Seoul. That is my first hotel working for Accor. That Sofitel hotel is later rebranded to Pullman, but when I joined, it was Sofitel. So in 2009, I started my new career in my own country in Seoul. And that move was turned out as a very lucky move personally, because after spending 2 years with Pullman Seoul, the Grand Ambassador Seoul associated with Pullman, I was nominated to join one of the Accor talent development program called GM Pass. GM Pass is General Manager Development Program available for the HOD level or number 2 level. And I was very lucky that I was considered as a nominee, and I passed the assessment center, and I finished the program in 2011. So I was ready to become a GM, and that's how I became number 2 operation manager, and then eventually developed my career into the general manager position. If I didn't join Sofitel Seoul, Pullman Seoul, I might have a less chance to become a general manager. If I didn't have Lehman Brothers bankrupt, economic crisis, if I was not forced to look for opportunity in my own country, if I didn't do that, maybe I didn't do GM path, and maybe it would take much more time, or even maybe I'm not working as a general manager yet. So once it looked like a most difficult and challenging time of my life, losing my job, laid off, and so on, but eventually that turned out as a great opportunity for me to develop my career into a GM's position. So that is my second very interesting experience related to a difficult time. Another one is happening in year 2011 and 12. When I joined the Sofitel Seoul, I joined there as a revenue manager, but after 2 years, I got the promotion to become a director of sales and marketing. And after I became DOSM, director of sales and marketing, I had a few challenges caused by 2 different things. In 2011, there was a Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. I'm sure you remember. It was one of the biggest earthquake in human history. So many people died, and the Japan economy was totally collapsed, and there was a nuclear meltdown, and there was a huge problem. And another problem was in 2012, big tension and very severe conflicts were created between Korea and Japan due to a small island called Dokdo. And because of these 2 issues, the number of the Japanese people visiting Korea was dramatically reduced, more than half. The challenging part was back in 2009 and 10, when Korean hotels were booming up, over 30-35% of the total business were Japanese. So facing these 2 situations, the earthquake and the conflict with Japan, the Korean hotels general performance was all dropping. Some hotels 5 to 10%, but some of the 5-star hotels were losing almost 15-20% of the occupancy comparing to 2009 and 2010. And yes, that was a difficult time, but The most of the hotels were still with a minimum 65 to 75% occupancy. So in my opinion, it was not the emergency situation, right? The GOP was still over 30%, 35%, and most of the hotel owners were still getting healthy return. The problem was, even though GOP level was still healthy and hotel occupancy was 65-70% level, the response from hotel owners or even management were quite disappointing. So for me, I was very disappointed to see all the actions, dramatic, extreme measures. I mean, there was lots of nonsense. So I was feeling like it is not very healthy for me and for my family to stay in Korea for a long time. And that's the moment I decided to move out of Korea again. That's how I arrived in Indonesia in 2013. Now it's 2020, so it's almost 7 years past, and I have to say last 6-7 years in Indonesia and Malaysia were most enjoyable and happiest time of my life. I have met so many great people and enjoyed every single minute of my life for last 6-7 years, and I have to say thank you to that bad accident happening in Japan and bad relationship between two countries. If everything was smooth, maybe I will be still staying and working in Korea, because I was getting promotion and my career was successful. Like I said, I did a GM pass and recognition was there. But all of them were stopped when business situation went down. And if I didn't have that incident, maybe I wouldn't enjoy this kind of life in Indonesia until now. So I feel very grateful that I had that challenge back in 2011 and 12. So you can see that I have 3 different personal experience to deal with huge challenges. I mean, it was quite big. Now I can tell you the stories without making faces, but back in there, the stress level and pressure I was dealing with was too much. I was having some physical problem as well. It was not easy to sleep during the night. My hair was starting to go off, and it was not easy. But looking back, my success, my happiness I'm enjoying at the moment is all coming from those big challenges I encountered back in 1997 and 2008 and 2011 and 12. If I didn't have those big challenges, maybe I will not be able to enjoy my current life like I do at the moment. So my message to you is, please remember that all the challenges will eventually go away. There's nothing permanent. And when you feel like you want to give up, you had enough, you feel like it's too much to endure, please remember that you are almost there and things will go better very soon. Another thing we have to remember is there could be some people around us who are not as strong as us, and maybe some of our friends and colleagues are not ready to deal with the big challenges yet. They cannot really deal with the stress or pressure they are having. So please look around and support each other during the difficult time. If you offer support, if you offer respect and trust, it'll come back to you as a much bigger formation in the future. So please look around to see if there's anyone struggling too much, if there's anyone who needs your help. My closing comments will be coming from my favorite book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's one sentence I will never forget from the book. It was saying like this: between stimulus and response, there's always our choice. So whatever the stimulus is, we do not need to respond as expected. When someone hit me, we do not need to feel sad or upset or hit back. When life gives us a big challenge, we do not need to feel down or frustrated or sad or scared, because we still have a choice to stay bright, to stay positive, to stay strong, to stay calm and controlled. So please remember, you have your own choice to deal with this situation. Saying is always easier than doing. So I'm very sure that even after watching this video, many of you will still feel a lot of stress and pressures coming from a bad situation related to coronavirus. But you're not the only one. Everybody is suffering. This is not the first time we are having this difficult time. Please remember, we had lots of experience like this, and eventually we have overcome, and people who dealt with those challenges with a positive spirit became stronger and more successful eventually. So I wish you all a lot of happiness, and please stay healthy. Thank you.